This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. My name is Barry Braster. I am a technology director at Etteplan, and I'll be talking to you today about how to create clarity and consistency in content, and why, of course, is there a need to do so. So the customers that we work for around the world, if we start with that, we are, of course, with a little over 4,000 people in size. We offer engineering services, IoT, embedded systems, and of course, technical documentation solutions. And whenever we work for our customers, they do include the world's leading companies in equipment manufacturing industries, but we basically help them to create a better world through engineering, innovation, digitalization, and then of course, by doing that, we do that through better content. So what is better content? Well, it starts with basically the mission statement, if you will. Content is a business asset. Why is content so important? And in order to determine that, we'll have a look at some macro trends here. So you know, we're trying, of course, to be sustainable and environmental friendly with whatever solutions we and our customers provide. But knowing, of course, there's 240 tons of CO2 produced annually. That in the end is obviously causing an issue, and so we need to look at sustainable solutions that is going to help us not just today but also in the future. But then specifically, we look at content that we know that we look at. Then we know that about 74%, and this is research done by ourselves, of visitors of a website look for technical information. We know that 1.6 times of revisits to the site are due to the lack of finding the right information. And then this one by Gartner, what they researched was time spent by professionals searching for information is actually 50%. So if you have, let's say, a service mechanic somewhere in the world that needs more information, then they spend half of their time to actually find it first before they can even start, reading and understanding and using it. And then we also know it's kind of a global trend here that employees retire every day, and here in the US alone, for instance, critical information about processes and equipment run the risk of being lost forever, research by a Pew Research Center. And then the last one, 476 billion euros is spent annually on the cost of industrial accidents for EU businesses alone. So content impacts business, and it starts with product management, where you have manufacturing and assembly personnel, but there's also people, this is all about people in the end as well. Installation technicians, operators, maintenance and service engineers, that have high diversity of knowledge, high diversity of experience and languages, where we know that over 20% is spent on content creation, where we know that 50% of these business-to-business buyers rely on technical content. Again, when we talk to our end users, the installation technicians, there's a high diversity of knowledge, experience, and languages there as well. So in other words, the people that create content here have a different cultural, technical, or language background, and you have to write content that has to be understood by an end user that also has a high diversity of knowledge, experience, and languages. So just to leave that with you for a second. So there's a cost of downtime that has doubled the last 2 years. Over 50% of support time is spent solving repetitive issues, and 50% time is spent on finding the right information, as I just mentioned earlier. So all of these things, basically make us conclude that content actually has an impact on our business. And how to then make this better can help our customers and our customers' customers create a better world. You do that through an efficient content value chain, and you do that through content that we call needs to be fair, so findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So I took it to myself to then ask something like ChatGPT, artificial intelligence in this case, what content quality is. How important is content quality? I asked ChatGPT, and this is what it came up with. Content quality, it refers to the overall accuracy, completeness, and consistency of data. It is a measure of how well content conforms to the requirements and expectations of the people who use it. So that means that high quality content is content that is, one, accurate, so free from errors, reflect reality as closely as possible. Two, complete, so it includes all the required fields and information without missing anything, without anything missing or anything being incomplete. Consistent, so that it's uniform and follows a consistent format and structure. Applicable, through it being relevant, so it's applicable, it's useful to the intended purpose. Timely, so it's available and up to date on demand. And valid, meets the requirements and standards for its intended purpose. So if we then have poor quality content, that can then lead to an inaccurate analysis, poor decision making, increased costs. An inaccurate and incomplete data can cause errors that can have, of course, serious consequences in industries such as finance, healthcare, and logistics. But it's not just, of course, these industries. But this is what ChatGPT came up with. And ensuring a content quality is an important part of content management. Involves implementing processes and tools. So it's not just about buying a tool, it's also about the process that's behind that, of course. So in other words, content quality supports the full product life cycle because it enables you to make informed decisions, improve your efficiency, make sure you comply with regulatory requirements, and then deliver high quality products and services to your customers. And how does it do so? Well, in the product development phase, to inform design decisions, to determine manufacturing processes, to set pricing strategies for tracking inventory, forecasting demand. Marketing and sales phase, it can help you identify target audiences, help you determine marketing strategies, track sales performance there, and customer relationship management, as it helps you to understand your customers' behaviors and preferences better, and then respond to those adequately. Product support then, and the service phase for tracking product performance, identifying defects, and improving product quality. And for regulatory compliance, as it ensures that you meet the high quality and safety standards around the world, and that the documentation and reporting requirements are then consequently also met. And then last but not least, your end-of-life activities. So for disposal, for recycling, but accurate content is needed to track product inventory again and ensure that products are disposed of safely and responsibly. So then we look at data or content consistency throughout the PLC data chain. Well, what happens, for instance, if those who work in different silos within the organizations, and that there's no agreements on what we're going to call a certain part or a certain component of a product? So and I asked ChatGPT here, give me different synonyms for the word system, and this is what it all came up with. So it could be that you have somebody and spare parts calling it an element, and then TechPubs is calling it a device, and then another technical writer in TechPub is calling it a unit, because again, there is no consensus on what to call certain things. Or even worse, these are just one word, right? To call something, but it could also be that you can have multiple words to call something, the mechanical device or the measuring unit device system, whatever you want to, so there can be very long noun clusters that can cause confusion. Point is that we're calling something very different things because we never agreed upon using one word with only one meaning. And that can cause, of course, confusion to your end user, whether it's your field mechanic or service engineer that has to do maintenance, whether it is the end user of your, let's say, your medical devices, could be the doctors, the nurses. And that is, a matter of fact, is going to really badly reflect on your branding. But to put it more into practice, so if we have somebody in documentation, again, calling it a grinding head cover, right, as we see over here, and then somebody who handles the spare parts is going to call it a dust cover, and that's the technical drawing that belongs to it. Well, what's going to happen then? Well, in this case, and this is an example from Husqvarna that we did this project with, is that if your end service engineer or your field service engineer is going to then look for that word, dust cover, he's not going to be able to find anything. He's going to be able to find dusk and cover dusk or other words here, but none of this information without having your taxonomy or your terms, standardized. You're not going to help your end user. And if you then use grinding head in this case to search, or as a matter of fact, if there is taxonomy in place and somebody looks for the word dust cover, he will get the results for grinding head. So, and because we have dust cover, for instance, assigned as a non-approved synonym that will be linked to the approved word, which is in this case grinding head, he or she is going to look up the information and is going to be able to find it. And you then, as a matter of fact, also going to train your end user. Well, you said dust cover, but you actually meant grinding head, and here's the information. So, and then kind of looking at the content value chain to support your product life cycle. So we have your value chain right here. You have your input. Then it needs to be created, right? So you have usually your subject matter expert or your engineer providing content to the technical writer. That needs to then be reviewed and approved. Then it needs to be translated. That needs to then be validated again, and then you deliver your content. But then, of course, your content is going to be used. You're going to get feedback, and that's kind of all done by people, of course, and it's going to come back to all of these different value chains again. So to get updated, etc. You can see where the role of the product manufacturer is and where the role of the product lifecycle is here as well. So to meet your customer needs, not only now, but also in the future, you do that by, of course, by providing them with better content. But then you also kind of need to determine where you are now, where your content, and where do you want to be. And that's something that we, of course, that we do at Etteplan. So we help our customers go from challenge to change. So find out where your current state is, whether it's 0 or 1 or 2, and then define also where you want to be. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to go all the way to fair content, by the way. It just depends on what your specific business needs are, what your goals are. And it could be that going from 1 to 2 is enough. Could be that you have to go from 2 to fair content over here. And those are areas that we can help you with. We have Etteplan HyperSTE over here. That's the content quality checker that we have, and then we have these productized services that we can help you with. How to create, how to deliver, and how to assist. But more about that in a little while. Different tools that you can use here, powered by, so we use, HyperSTE, Fluid Topics, Exeasoft, but it's not so much only about these systems, it's about what they are trying to accomplish. And it's about the processes, as I mentioned earlier. Not having a process in place, you can give anybody the best tools out there in the world, but if it's not, carried on by the process or made mandatory by the process or facilitated by the process, then you're not going to get, you're not going to get much anywhere. So. A lot of benefits of when you do it. So when you are a technical documentation writer or a manager, then it helps you make your content accurate, compliant, and efficient. You can automate compliance, comply with industry standards, accelerate your time to market, because in the end you will minimize your writing and editing time. You get it basically right the first time. And then you will also be able to eliminate friction. So have your global writing team, for instance, work with one voice. But also, doesn't really matter where you have different writers in different parts of the world. It will all come out the same way. And then for business leaders, it can help you elevate your customer experience, open up new markets, reduce your risks. So costs will go down, quality will go up. You will meet the standards, and then also expedite the efficiencies. So. And then just some takeaways here. Next steps, where to start. It starts with the content strategy always, of course. So have your content strategy be aligned with your business strategy. So set a current state, set a desired state, define those gaps, and then we can help you, of course, go there and then make, and help you define what that is. Define your taxonomy, including approved and unapproved synonyms. So if you have a list of terms, great. You need to then determine, standardize them. So one word can only have one meaning, but also the ones that you're no longer going to use, they still need to be in there, because the fact that you're not using them doesn't mean that your end users don't use them. And we need to take that into consideration. Implement then a content quality checker. We have one called HyperSTE, but you can ask us more about that later. Train your technical writers, and not just in your technical writers, but involve anyone that is going to be involved in the content creation process. So including your engineers and your subject matter experts. And again, it's also very much about the process and having that in place. Continuation then of your term management, your taxonomy, your processes, so that you don't leave everybody hanging there. You continue to support them throughout the process. That will conclude today's presentation. So you can contact us with more information. Again, you can go to edaplan.com or simplifiedenglish.com that talks specifically about the content. Here's my contact information, barry.braster@edaplan.com, and my number here in the United States. But if you're anywhere else in the world, you can just simply send an email to this particular email address. We offer, of course, free demonstrations of HyperSTE, free trials. We can also help you with free business case analysis, where you provide your content to us, and we will simply run it through the tool and see where those gaps are and where the low-hanging fruits are, and what it is that you need to do to further improve your content to help you meet your business goals. And you can also go to the website, simplifiedenglish.com, where you can download these guidebooks, which is called Content is a Business Asset. Part 1, the history of written languages. Part 2, simplified technical English. And part 3, simplifying technical English in practice. So what does it mean? It's about 112 pages in total, those three. And really, we're only selling ourselves on the last two. So it's very, very educational. So download those. Again, those are for free. And of course, if you have any other questions, you are more than welcome to contact us. So we are Edaplan, engineering with a difference. Again, we're over 4,000 people in different countries. 850 of us, by the way, are in TechPub. So we have a lot of those 850 that are technical writers. We're a publicly listed firm. And on the content management aspect, the content is a business asset aspect. We've trained actually over 3,500 writers and SMEs worldwide. So make use of that. So thank you so much for attending, and it leaves me to wish you a very pleasant day. Thank you. Bye-bye.